Imagine accidentally sailing too close to an island and realizing thousands of monkeys are staring directly at you from the shoreline. No humans live there, no tourists are allowed there, and the government has spent decades keeping people away from it. But the strangest part isn't that the island exists, it's why those monkeys are there in the first place. Because this wasn't natural, they weren't always there, they were brought there. And once you learn the real reason Monkey Island exists, the entire story starts feeling less like nature and more like something that escaped from a classified experiment. Off the coast of South Carolina, hidden between marshes and waterways near Beaufort, sits a place officially known as Morgan Island, but most people know it by another name, Monkey Island. And for years, stories about the island spread online almost like urban legends. Boaters would talk about seeing monkeys running through the trees. Locals would mention hearing strange sounds from the shoreline. And photos started circulating online showing entire groups of monkeys covering parts of the island. At first glance, it sounds fake. Because when people think of wild monkeys, they think of jungles, rainforests, remote tropical regions. Not South Carolina, and definitely not on an isolated island owned under government control. But the monkeys are real, thousands of them. And the deeper people looked into Morgan Island, the stranger the story became. Morgan Island is a relatively small island located near Beaufort County, South Carolina. It's isolated, mostly underdeveloped, and heavily restricted from public access. But unlike most islands in the area, this one has become internationally known for one reason: rhesus macaque monkeys. Not a few, not dozens, thousands. And over time, the population grew so large that the island essentially became one of the most unusual animal colonies in the United States. But that raises the obvious question: why would thousands of monkeys be living on a government-controlled island in America? And the answer begins decades earlier, with disease outbreaks, medical research, and one of the most controversial realities of modern science. In the late 1970s, a colony of rhesus monkeys located in Puerto Rico became contaminated during disease-related research concerns. And according to historical reports, officials needed a new isolated environment where the monkeys could be relocated and monitored. That environment became Morgan Island. The monkeys were transported there under the supervision of research-related organizations connected to medical testing and biological studies. And from that point on, the island became permanently associated with scientific research. Now, to be clear, there's no evidence of secret experiments happening in the Hollywood sense people imagine online, but what is documented is that the monkeys and their descendants became part of ongoing biomedical research systems. And that's the part that makes people uncomfortable, because most people never really think about where laboratory animals come from until they hear about an island filled with thousands of them. And this is where the story changes emotionally. Because once people see videos of the monkeys interacting, raising young, moving through the island like a functioning society, it stops feeling abstract. These aren't numbers on paper anymore. They're living animals existing in a place most humans are forbidden from entering. And that creates this strange psychological reaction. Part curiosity, part discomfort. Because Monkey Island feels almost hidden in plain sight. It's real, it's documented, and yet millions of people have never heard of it. And one of the biggest reasons Monkey Island became so famous online is because people aren't supposed to go there. Boats are warned to keep their distance, unauthorized landings are prohibited, and officials have consistently discouraged public interaction with the monkeys. Part of that is safety. Rhesus macaques can become aggressive. They can carry diseases transmissible to humans, and introducing outside contact could disrupt the colony. But restrictions also create mystery. And the internet has always been drawn to places people can't access. So naturally, Morgan Island became surrounded by rumors, secret testing, government experiments, hidden facilities. But most of those stories grow because of atmosphere, not confirmed evidence, and honestly, the truth is already strange enough. As drone footage and boat videos started spreading online, Monkey Island exploded in popularity. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. A random island off the coast of South Carolina covered in monkeys. And social media amplified everything. Some clips exaggerated the danger, others exaggerated the mystery, but the visuals alone were enough, because there's something deeply unsettling about seeing animals that normally belong thousands of miles away living freely on an isolated American island. It almost feels wrong to look at. Like your brain knows the environment and the animals don't match, and that visual disconnect is part of what made Morgan Island go viral. But underneath the internet fascination, there's also a larger conversation happening. One about medical research, animal testing, and the ethical lines people debate constantly. Because the rhesus macaques have been used for decades in scientific studies connected to medicine, vaccines, and disease research. And depending on perspective, people see that reality very differently. Some people focus on the medical advancements connected to that research. Others focus on the cost. And Monkey Island becomes symbolic of that entire debate. An isolated place most people never see, connected to systems most people never think about. And maybe that's why this story sticks with people, because it doesn't feel fictional. It's not some ancient myth or internet creepypasta. Monkey Island is real. Morgan Island is real. And thousands of monkeys are actually living there right now. Hidden just far enough away from the public to keep the mystery alive. And The more people learn about it, the more surreal it starts to feel. And maybe the strangest part of all this is how easily something like this can exist without most people ever hearing about it. A government restricted island, thousands of monkeys, decades of scientific connections. Some people say they've seen houses there, like people living there, and yet for years it stayed almost invisible outside the people living nearby until the internet finally found it. So the next time you hear someone mention Monkey Island, just remember, it's not a movie set, it's not fiction, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a real place, officially called Morgan Island, and somewhere off the coast of South Carolina right now, thousands of monkeys are still watching the shoreline.